Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Bandit Board Variety channel. Today's video we're going to be doing another coin roll hunt. We'll be taking a break from World War II series for a video. So we're going to be doing dimes and pennies. In this hunt here, I got the box of that down there. I'm going to start off with the dimes. So you got circulated ones of those from the bank. I'm searching for silver for these albums, and we got the other albums out, which are fully filled, but we're looking for any replacements, and we need the 2024D, any 2025s that may have came out yet. We're going to look for those. But what I want to show you first before we get into the hunt is I recently got the Canadian Cent Vitmon albums for Canadian cents, because I find a lot of them when I hunt pennies. So I figured I have enough of them to create an album. So I got, these are just for the small cents. You can collect the large cents too, which are much rarer, much older. I don't have any of those. We have small cents from 1920 and 1988, and then the other album from 1989 to 2012. And they quit minting the the 1 cent coin in Canada in 2012. So I'm going to show you what I got in these first, so we can get the hunt started. So here we have 1920 and 1988. So this is the small cents. They all had Queen Victoria on them, the large cents, which were made out of bronze until 1901. And then they had Edward VII on them. And starting in 1920, when they had the small cents, put George V on it. And I only have one George V cent, which is the 1936. Now what I'm going to do is I put these labels in here for the obverse who's on it, and I'm going to face, since the dates are on the back, all Canadian coins, I'm going to have the face, the face side with the monarch on it facing up on this end, and then all the other dates are going to be with the reverse facing with the date on it. But I wanted it to be in 1920, and they only have 1936. So this is the George V. Then you have George VI starting in 1937. These are all 95% copper until 1942. They become 98% copper. And then they stay that way until 1997, when they become copper-plated zinc. And then in 1953, they start Elizabeth II on it. So that's the year she became queen, so I have it labeled up there. And then put the obverse with monarch facing, and every date after that I put the reverse with the date on it. So this is in 1953 with no shoulder fold. It's a collectible variety. So these are all mostly ones I found in penny hunts. And they changed her appearance again in 1966. So we have that. And then we have this next one, which is the 1988 to 2012. This continues the last of the 98% copper ones. And this album gives you the obverse options, slots for the obverse, so the other one doesn't, so I don't have to label anything. And then, yeah, so here it changes composition to copper-plated zinc. from 1997 to the remaining years of the coinage. So that is that. Then the P mark, which was used up until 2006 from 2002, indicates the coin is made of copper-plated steel instead of zinc. But after 2006, they just put the RCM logo on it, which is Royal Canadian Mint. So those are collectible varieties for that. So we will be looking for those as well. So this gives new meaning to Canadian cents when I find them in the hunt now. So with that being said, we're going to get into the dimes. So we're halfway through here. Just finished roll 25. We haven't had anything super special. We had several replacements for these albums here. I have a I think it's a 1994. It's like an off-centered strike. Probably not keeping this, but still looks like a nice error. I may or may not keep it. I'm going to decide that as I continue hunting the box. But this is halfway through. And that's what we have. So we're going to continue the hunt. Well, that's it for dime box number 3. No silver or anything. I decided I'm going to keep this 94 Denver. I think it's a defective die. So you can see the raised rim that's off-centered and more like screwed up, cut like raised metal on it. So I have the date and that piece of tape down here to keep it from falling out of these holders. So that's really the only find. I always find usually one thing that catches my eye, so that's the one thing in these boxes. So this is the replacements for the 1965 to 1999 dime album, and these are the replacements that I'll be showing you for the 2000 to present album. So we'll take a look at this first. So just a few pieces here that are brightening up the current ones we have. And this is 2000 to present. And this is 2000 to present. Changes that we're making here. Some of these are just barely better, but they like, if I notice one of my dates, they have like a distracting mark in a place where the new one doesn't or something, that I'll replace it. Any improvement I can make, I will, because that's how I get the most out of the hunt, by checking each coin. Because if I just roll hunted, edge hunted for silver, I would never get much out of doing this, because the silver is extremely rare in these boxes. But so this adds extra variety to the hunt. Still no 2024 Denver or 2025s yet, so nothing in terms of that. And then back to this original album, I did keep the 1982 Denver, either this one or this one I kept the same, threw the replacement out because it was like pretty much exactly the same as that, so kept that the same. This I'll get instituted, and then other than that, that's going to be it for this dime box. So that's going to be it for the dime box. Like I said, pretty skunky type of box, just to be expected in my area with dimes. But now we're going to get into the pennies, and we're going to look for probably some better finds. You don't know, but pennies are usually way better for that. So I'm going to be looking for some good stuff with that. So that's what we're going to get into. Yeah, the new Canadian album's ready if I find stuff for that, and then the other albums will get set up. So with that being said, we're going to get into the hunt with the pennies now. Roll 1 of the penny box is already kind of good, so we have 3 finds here. Starting off with a really nice 1968S. Come over here, this is my 1968S, which we'll be replacing. Only 258.2 million minute of that, as opposed to 1.7 billion in 1968 and 2.8, almost 2.9 billion in 1968 Denver. So really rare date and in really nice shape. So we'll take that. Found a nice 1978 too to replace the one I got with that piece of dirt up there. And then most of all, we found, where is it here? Somewhere here. A 1954 Denver wheat cent with really nice red toning on it. So I'm thinking it's going to be replacing my current 1954 Denver. As you can see, it doesn't have that. So we're off to a good start here. I'm through the first 10 rolls now. So we have several other finds. We have 3 Canadian cents. None of them are for the album though. We have 1980, 1999, 1984. So nothing for those. Did find a couple more replacements. Found 2 more 1968 S's in nice condition. Not going to be keeping them now because the one I found is the nicest of those. So we'll take that, but I just figured I'd show that. 2 more wheat cents, 1942 and 1941, both Philadelphia's. And then found 2 2025 pennies. So this is the first coin, the second coin I found from 2025, besides the nickel. So I'm just gonna look at these, which one's the best I'll take, and we'll add that to the 25 slot on the album. So nice to get those before pennies go out, and that is the finds for those first 10 rolls. So we're going to continue the hunt now. Roll 13, we have an old wheat cent here, 1937 Philadelphia. Don't need that, but it'd be nice if it had a mint mark, but it doesn't. So we have that. I've also found a couple more nice 1968 S's. I don't know what it is with this box. Probably was a roll of them at some point, untouched, and it just got dumped into this before it was re-rolled. So that's what I'm guessing, because I found like 5 of them. So far we have a Canadian cent here. While we're here, let's see what it is. 1998. I don't think I need that, so I'll check. But yeah, I'm just bringing you in for wheat cents 1940 and older, and any other wheat cents and stuff. We'll just recap at the end of that 10 rolls. Now, like I've said in my other videos, I don't keep any wheat cents that are newer than 1940 because I just don't like to hoard them. They're not worth nothing. It'll be a long time before they're worth anything. And I already have an example of most of them dates in my book. So if it doesn't fill the book and it doesn't replace anything, that goes back into circulation for someone else to find. So that's what I do with that. So I just finished roll 25 here, so we're halfway through. Got a few more Canadian cents. Still finding a ton of these 1968 S in really nice shape cents. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep one to replace the album and one to put in the private collection in a holder, just because it's a nice example of a lower mintage coin. Find a few more Canadians, like I said. And then we found 2 wheat cents, 1957 Philadelphia with a redder toning. I think it's going to replace my existing one. And then a 1947 Philadelphia. So we have those. So that being said, we're going to continue the hunt. 35 rolls in, and gathering up some more Canadian cents, a few replacements. Even more really nice 1968 S's. But it looks like these 2 are going to be the best. Found a nice 1960 Denver, which will be replacing the one I have. And two more, or another wheat scent here. We've been pretty slow on wheat scents, but we've been good with other stuff. Got a 1953 Denver, which I think this will be replacing my 53 Denver 2. I think. We look over here, because the one I have's like cleaned, so I'd rather get a natural patina one in there instead of a clean one. And then I found a Canadian scent that I need, which is 1966. I'll be using the Obverse. I'll explain all that when we get to the albums. But that's so far what we have. So I'll see you at the end of the hunt when we completed the next 15 rolls. So that finishes box 5 for the channel of pennies. In roll 46, found 2 more wheat scents here. We have a 52S, which will be replacing in my album, a 1935, which will be replacing this, and then the 1937 we found at the beginning of the video, or the beginning of the hunt, will be replacing as well, because they are slightly better than what I have in there. And I know this 35S that I found in the other box in the channel was cleaned, and I have another 35S that's not clean, but it's not really that great looking, so I'm just keeping that in there for now. May change it later. We did find a 1975S proof, so you can't really tell it, you can just barely tell that it's a proof because of how it just has a little bit of that shine underneath of it. There are only about 2.8 million of these made, as compared to the 5.4 billion of the 1975 Philadelphia and the 4.5 billion of the 1975 Denver. So it makes it pretty rare. It's only worth something if it's in proof 63 condition though, which as you can see it's not. But we're still keeping that for the collection, just like the 1984S that I found in the other penny box. And then we have, this is that 52S for the other album. Found a Bahamas 1 cent coin from 1990. I found another Bahamas coin in another cent box I did from 2006. But this is the second one of those. So that is that. I think that's it. We got replacements over here, a couple for the 41 to 74 album. These are all for the 75 to 2013 album. So we got, these are the other replacements of wheat scents. So we got 3 here, 3 here, it's 1. So that's 6, 7. We got 9 wheat scents in this box. Not too bad. Not any major things. Not any Indian head scents or anything like I wanted to find, but a lot of different stuff all over the place, which is kind of good. Much more eventful than the dime box, at least. So at least we did get a Canadian scent for the album, the 1966, so we'll get into that here soon. But this is what we got changing up in the 1909 and 1940 wheat scent album, and then we'll move on to the next album. So this is the 41 to 74 album, putting in the red 54 Denver, 53 Denver. Now the 52S I thought it was going to replace, but I was wrong, didn't. I think it's right here. Put it in. That's 47. As you can see, it's not really that better, so we're getting rid of that. Or I'm going to keep the 52S because it's a rarer vintage, so that's an exception to what I keep. If it would have been the 51S, it would have filled the slot up here, but it wasn't. Placing the 60 Denver, 61 Denver, a little shinier on that. Definitely replacing the 68S, since there was probably like 20 of these nice ones in this box. And that's that. This is 1975 to 2013 changes. Here we have the 2025 Philadelphia going in there, filling that slot, but no 2025 Denver. So if coinage stops of these after this year, it should be completely full in this album once we get that. And then obviously low chance of finding 2019 West Point, but that could always happen. That is that. Here we are in the Canadian album from 1920 to 1988. In total, we had about 10 Canadian cents. We have the 1966 going in on the obverse under Elizabeth II Tiara. They changed her bust from this design, which ran from 1953 to 1965. In 1965, they changed it. However, I can't, and what I want to do is I want to flip the coin over on the date that they changed the bust so that you can see that that's what that looks like. See, I have it for George V, but I don't have a 1920, and George VI, but I don't have a 1937, because their dates are all on the back of the coins. So that's what I'm doing. But for 1965, there's a variety of large beads and small beads, which is on the reverse, so I can't flip that over to see this, because then you won't see the variety. So I just did the next available year, which is 1966 for that. So we have that going in, and then we have a replacement 1975 here, and 1983, which is not too much better than this, but it has like a red toning to it, which this does not. So that's that. And then we got nothing new for the 1989 to 2012 album. Now, in my Indian Head 10 album, I did make a change earlier. So I moved the, let me get this out of the way. Moved the 1905 to its slot, because originally I had it up here in the shield reverse. I decided I wanted to only put something up here if I have a duplicate of a date. Like if I find an 1899 or a date I already have, I can put that in there. Because originally I had that in there, but I had no 1905 over here, so I decided I want that in the slot. So that's been moved. Nothing for this album though. But that is all the changes for this hunt. So we're gonna wrap things up here. So guys, that's going to conclude this 2-box dime and cent hunt. Box number 5 for the channel, and dime box number 3 for the channel, penny box number 5. This is actually the 17th penny box hunt that I've done, but it's only the 5th that I filmed on the channel, and then this is the 3rd ever dime box I've done. Dime box is pretty low level, which is much to be expected, but I always end up finding at least one thing catches my eye, which is that 1970 or that 1994 Denver with the damaged die. I have the second 1968 S going in a holder here, just because it's a lower mintage, hard date to find, especially in that nice condition. And then we have our 1980 or 75 S circulated proof in a holder. And then I'll be looking into this 1990 Bahamas 1 cent and seeing where that goes in the collection as well. So not anything too major in this hunt. A lot of different things from a lot of different areas, a lot of things added to the collection, but it's a good hunt. Could have been worse, or could have been even less stuff, But that is that. We did get one thing for the Canadian cent albums. I kept the original 1935 and 1937 penny wheat cent, and I kept the 52S wheat cent just because it's a harder date. The reason I don't, like I said earlier in the video, I don't keep wheat cents anymore that are older than 1950 unless they got errors, they're replacing something in my book, or they're a date that I don't have in the book, is because they're not rare, they're not worth a whole lot, they're hard to find in good conditions, and they're not going to be worth much anytime soon. So to me, that's just like hoarding them for no reason. When something happens to me, nobody's going to keep them anyway. I'd rather have rare coinage or valuable coinage. That's what I hunt for in these boxes. But I just have the stuff in the albums because that makes the hunt a little more rewarding. You're not just hunting for silver or rare stuff that you may or may not find. You're hunting for common things too that you don't have for the album, and you're constantly trying to update its condition. And that I don't keep any copper cents either from like 1960 to up to 82 because I just think that's hoarding. I'm never going to sell that and get money for it, so might as well just whip it back and get my money back at the bank and buy something else in coinage. So that's why I don't do that. Some people don't agree with that. That's just my method of hunting coinage. It's just what I like to do. I like to keep my collection petite and simple, not overloaded and have boxes here and boxes over there of hoarding all this random stuff. But that is that. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Just be like, subscribe, it helps out the Bang Boy Variety channel. And stay tuned for us getting back into World War II series. Take a break from that for a while so I can make this video. I've had some things I've been doing, so we'll be getting back into that. We're going to finish up the 1943 missions here. And then I got a little interdisciplinary video I'm going to do about some something weird probably coming up here as well, just to get something different on the channel. But anyway, guys, it's going to be it for today's video.